Okay, take a moment and just bring yourself into the present now. Just presence into the body, awareness of the breath, awareness of the life force as it flows through. Letting go of all and just be here now. And imagine there's a cord of energy rising up from the center of the center of the center of what you are, your being, however it appears, flowing higher and higher into, greater and greater into the mental body and the pranic body and the physical body, and just flowing through, animating with an infinite intelligence, aligning. Just breathe. Allow this infinite love to come through and just touch the places in us that we don't usually allow it to come into. Just welcome this source coming up and up and up and through us. This peace, the peace of the one, is the center of my being. Feel that. The peace of the one is the center of my being. I am conscious of this peace. I enter into this peace. I am surrounded by this peace. This peace moves out from me in all directions. This peace naturally and strongly moves out from me in all directions. It calms the troubled waters of my experience. It heals everything it contacts. There is nothing but this peace. I rejoice in this peace. I abide in this peace. I am this peace. I permit this peace to enter my soul, to fill me with calm, to inspire me with confidence. I know that this peace goes before me and makes perfect, plain, and straight my way. And in particular now, just know this, that being together here like this amplifies this peace. Whenever two or more come together in my name, and here we are, just this group of us in this coherency can run a higher amount of coherent energy into the world and help align things and keep things going in the best possible way for the collective. It's not just us here. It's all beings who are conscious on these levels. And so we just invite, breathe it through, breathe it through. Let the boundary go of what you think you is. Single source, us. We're here on this planet at this time right now to be used in this way. because the time calls for it, and our own growth gets accelerated by this. So this is a really blessed time to be here right now, to be used to help shepherd through, to help birth the new levels of consciousness that are in fact emerging in spite of the appearance out there. And in this, we're never alone. It's a ridiculous concept. "24/7, this flowing through us exactly where needed." You want to target it at Washington, D.C. tonight? Good idea. Send it into particular people? Fine, good idea. But know this. This is flowing through us 24/7, knowing what to do through us. And all we have to do is allow it and say yes. Nothing more. So find that place in you that is just jumping up and down with a yes. If not, maybe it's tapping its toe. Doesn't matter. Bring it on in. And so be it. Right. Okay. I'm going to create 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3. 3 breakout rooms. That'll put like 3 or 4 of us in each one. I'm going to sit out here. And I'll just give you, I don't know, 5 minutes or something like that. And of course, connect, introduce yourselves. But 2 prompts to consider. 1, how do I know when I'm in alignment? And I'm just going to leave it at that. How do I know when I'm in alignment? I know when I'm in alignment when, and you can talk with each other about that. The other one is, how do I know when I'm out of alignment? And that's probably going to show up in more than one kind of a way. So we'll do this. It's amazing. People are popping in from an alternate reality. It's like... Okay. That was a first time experiment. How was that? Was that like kind of helpful or?
Cool.
Yeah, good. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I used to do this every week for like 5 years in New York, live, and it's like, how do you do that here? Because there's such nice cross connection when people get to know each other. So you gotta learn this. Okay, alignment.
Why don't we do this or do you want to watch everybody?
There you go.
Doesn't matter.
I'm gonna mute you, Elena. I'm going to, well, we're gonna run a, I don't know, 10-minute or so video here. Eckhart Tolle talking about one aspect of alignment. One. And then I'm going to talk about this really incredible, I call it a model, but it's kind of the way our energy bodies line up and how, and I'll leave it at that. When I learned this, I kind of knew about it in the back of my mind for decades, but it just came to the front of my mind this time when I got the message to do this about alignment, and it's kind of blowing my mind in terms of how it allows me to map everything together. And I'm going to leave that cookie dangling there for you and hopefully be able to articulate in a way that will work for you. So let me start with putting the Eckhart thing on. Hang on. Share screen. Where? Post tools. don't see the button for sharing the screen. Oh, here it is. Got it. Okay, here we go.
Some people are still coming in, finding their seats, hopefully. Hello to everybody half a kilometer away at the back. A good spiritual practice while we are waiting for everybody to settle down. Why not start with a good spiritual practice, especially for people in the back rows? And it may sound a little bit funny, but it's actually a very powerful spiritual practice. And that is to become aligned with the present moment. Obviously, I'm Mr. Now, so I'm talking about the present moment. Become aligned with the present moment and refrain from complaining, for example, that you are too far away mentally. A very powerful spiritual practice. So then you become okay with the isness of things. And the isness of things happens always in the present moment. You might have noticed nothing ever happens that's not now. One could almost say the word happen must imply present moment. And most people completely underestimate the incredible importance of the present moment and of living in a harmonious relationship with the present moment. And you would be surprised how many people in this world live almost constantly in an antagonistic relationship with the present moment. And that, of course, causes a lot of unnecessary suffering and unhappiness. So, one of the most important things in life to be aware of is your relationship, so to speak, with the present moment. And this is now, of course. Is the present moment welcomed or appreciated, or at least accepted for the way it is, because it already is the way it is? That's the weird thing about the present moment. It's already the way it is. No matter how you argue in their mind with it, the isness of things is already the case. And that's all there ever is in your entire life. Your entire life, this is not something to just understand intellectually, but to grasp at a deeper level, your entire life unfolds in the present moment. That's all there ever is. That's all there ever is this moment. And most people live as if some future moment, whether it's a minute from now or tomorrow or next year, they live as if some future moment were always more important than this moment. That is implied. They don't tell themselves, oh, the next moment is more important than this one. No, it's an assumption, an underlying assumption. It's a mindset. And that mindset is a form of conditioning, cultural conditioning. And that mindset, by implication, if not literally, always says, there's something more important coming, and I'm on my way to it. And that is a dysfunctional way to live, because you're never fully alive. You never feel at home. You're always looking for your home in some future moment. Or when you get old enough and you realize there's little future left, then you think about the past more than the next moment. This is why many old people talk continuously about the past. So coming into alignment with the present moment brings about a shift in consciousness. And this is so simple and yet so profound. Now, this shift in consciousness is what our evening here together is all about. It is about a transformation of consciousness in you. And the reason why you're here, most of you, is that this transformation of consciousness is already happening. It's a process for most people. It's already happening in you. And you're here because you know that this, or you hope that this is an opportunity for deepening this shift in consciousness or accelerating the shift in consciousness. There are other terms we could use. We could say it is about an awakening of consciousness. It is about a spiritual awakening. And this is a term that in several spiritual traditions is used and has been used for a long time, the term of awaken, which implies that the ordinary, the normal state of consciousness of most human beings is a kind of dreamlike state. It is a kind of sleep. But people, if you tell that to somebody, says, what are you talking about? Dream? I'm completely awake. This is just nonsense.
Let me stop that. Thank you. There we go. Okay. Hang on. How does that strike you? What does that say for you? Let's spend a little time hanging out here talking about that. Like, remember to turn on your mics if you're going to talk. The first thing, alignment, be here now. You know? That whole idea of being not here now. I called it, when I was in the corporate world, I got out of it. I could start to feel the difference. I could see that people have what I call a forward tilt. Their feet are at this point, but their head is in the next moment. And letting go of that, we start to become more like this. And then it's a natural alignment with the now. So with that said, let me shut up and let you guys do some talking.
I on or off? I can't tell.
You're on.
Okay. I feel like what he was saying a lot, which is kind of always looking at the next moment, always checking my phone if some opportunity is going to come, or always like, searching for the boyfriend, whatever. It's always like a search for this is going to be where I need to be happy. And so I really need to hear this because I feel like I need to really, like I just was looking at my cat saying, wow, my cat is so cute. And I'm just enjoying her instead of thinking about, I got to check my email, that kind of thing where like all the distractions that make you not aligned. And it just brings you back to be right here. What's going on right here, not in your head. And it's hard because our mind always wants to chatter, 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 chatter. So yeah, it's a practice. And I find that if I meditate more often, I can calm that chatter more. But if I don't, it takes me away. Just it takes me like an ocean wave, takes me out to the sea. So yeah, I understand what he was saying, but it's really powerful. It sounds so simple, but it's not. It's work. It takes being present to be present.
Here's the thing, Dina. After you really kind of get into the flow of working at this level, you realize it takes an enormous amount of effort to leave the here and now and stay away from the here and now. And all of a sudden, you get to reclaim all that energy that you can then consciously direct into creative pursuits that are of your heart.
Are
you? Oh, sorry.
Who's going to start talking?
I was.
Go ahead.
I was going to ask, does meditation play a big part in Be Here Now, mindfulness? Yes, that's where I got to start. Thank you.
Yes, it's a big deal.
It's interesting as to what Dina said. So Monday through Friday, I for those of you who know what I do, I obviously very tied into the news, into geopolitical events, because that's part of my job. And it's important for me to do a good job, to be connected to it. And then on the weekends or market holidays, I turn all that off. I hardly will look at my phone or the news or anything else like that. And as Eric mentioned, it's really interesting to see the space, the difference just with that one action of little to no contact with any kind of news, and definitely little to no with my phone. The head is in a different place with that one thing. So as Eric mentioned, in his time in corporate life, with that forward tilt, with that different kind of energy, what you're surrounded with, it's an interesting conversation of how much of our societal norms have changed the way that we're not in the present moment, because we have this constant stimulus, which is our phones or all of the outside chatter. And when you can get away in that space, it's really interesting. Just that one action, regardless of meditation or spiritual work or anything else, that one simple action seems to make an incredible difference. And then maybe my neighbor will come over and want to talk politics. And I'm like, I was trying to stay away from all that on the weekend. I have to get a big shirt saying no news on the weekends.
Just radiate your own force field and that'll take care of it. Yeah.
I can understand, Christina, how you have a difficult time. I was at your last seminar and everything you do is the future.
Oh,
so it's got to be a huge.
Oh, isn't that interesting? Good.
Yeah, well, it's financial advice and all that. So that's not today. That's kind of today in the here and now, but it's really, as you said, you have to forecast the future for your clients, and that has to be hard to step away from that on the weekends.
It is, and my spiritual path right now is actually interesting, and it's pushing all my buttons, and it's really, really challenging me. and has everything to do with getting pretty well, I don't want to say seriously, but pretty significantly injured by one of my horses.
Ooh.
And learned about, but I needed that. I needed that to happen. And I had a choice of two paths. One path was to give up on it, hand it over to the trainer and say, hey, I don't do this for a living. Another path was keep doing this. You're supposed to be here. You're supposed to be having experience. But a big part of working with horses is you need to be fully present, and you can't fool a horse. A horse knows what energy you're bringing to the table. You can't fool it. You have to be there. So all the areas of this space that we're talking about now, I don't want to use the word forced, but I am on the path of learning and experiencing that, because if you aren't, it's not like I can, it's not like, oh, okay, well, I'm not in the present moment. It's like I can be injured not being in the present moment. And that's a path. And so it's what you said before, when I'm very future looking, that's my job, that's my responsibility, it's what people expect from me, to getting out of that and not having my head somewhere else. Oh man, is that hard. It is. I'm 56 in about a week here. It's one of the hardest things I've done in my adult life. So.
We each one of us have a horse.
Oh yeah, the horse is just.
We each have a horse, and that lets us know when we're not here now.
Oh yeah.
And yeah.
Well, I hope you all don't have to have a really good kick to figure that out.
Maybe we should.
The more we're listening, the more we automatically course correct, which I'll kind of talk about when we get into the next slide of things. Anybody else before I move on?
Maybe we should all take a lesson from our horses or pets, because they're always in the here and now.
Yes.
They're never in the past, never in the future.
Just like our bodies.
Say again, Beth.
It's just like our bodies. Our bodies are horses. This is
They are. That's true.
I just feel very grateful to be here. And when he said the thing about what's your relationship to the present?
Yeah.
I think that's a really interesting, because we can tie up the present in a box and say, oh, I'm not there in that box.
Right.
But the present's always here. So it's like, as soon as we objectify the present or the moment, it's over there.
Yes.
But if I'm having an experience of being present by feeling what I felt when we first started, which is like this centralizing energy moving into my body, and I can feel the coolness of breath, and I can feel my weight on the couch. It's like those things are happening now. I feel they're like your resources. They're resources for how do I come back to the present if I feel like I'm like thinking too much. Anyway, I just thought it was interesting.
Beautiful. And you know, for those who don't know Beth is like a master of being in her body. And so she brings that.
Humbling all the way.
Say again?
Humbling all the way.
Humbling all the way. I could do the bragging for you about you. The body, I was blown away about 5 years ago when I realized how not embodied I was. And I'm pretty in touch with my body. And so these last few years have been coming more and more and more and more into the body, and everything gets better. Everything gets better. So with that said, let me pull up another diagram. Hang on a sec. I hope you guys find this as interesting and useful as I do. Now, where are you? There you are. Let's share that. This. Okay. You could see it?
Yes.
Good. So a little bit of a backstory here is I'm reading a book that's the commentary on the Upanishads, and the Upanishads are essentially the mystical doctrine and documentation that the yogis put together as part of the Vedas, the entire philosophical system of yoga. So in the Upanishads, he talked about the body is actually, we have 5 layers of bodies. The physical just being kind of like the end of the food chain, if you will, the punchline of the setup of the joke. And So I wanted to bring this out and talk about this because when you start to recognize this and understand this way that our own consciousness is structured, I'm just going to leave it to your own consciousness to start to map all that you know about yourself into something like this. It just keeps going. I'm telling you, this has opened up just a bigger energy field for me. So I'm going to start with, let's see. Let's go from the inside out because that's the way source flows, right? Flower it starts a plant from the inside out. Same thing with us. Same thing with us on the energy systems and the bodies. So what we're most familiar with is the outermost body, the physical body, but the start of it. Imagine coming from pure source and it, for whatever reason, decides it's going to create one of these things, this being. And so it starts to resonate and vibrate at a much higher frequencies, and then it creates the most subtle of these five bodies that we actually are, the I, the Atman, the pure awareness that we are, and we'll come back to that if we've already talked about it, and other times we'll come back to it again. The pure awareness that we are takes on the most subtle of these bodies, the bliss body, which is the closest form, if you will. These are, of course, are non-physical, they're invisible of sorts to the senses, but it's a form nonetheless, which is the moment the completely pure, undifferentiated God source starts to create something, it becomes form, the most subtle. And so this first level is the Ananda, which is a Sanskrit word for bliss, the Anandamaya, or the bliss body. That's the core of our bodies. Bliss, not judgment, not projection, not fantasy, not being anywhere except here now, pure bliss. Then that resonates and spins off another body, which is the Vijnanamaya body, or the wisdom body. And this is the level from which guidance really starts to come into the idea space. But it needs a vehicle to transmit into our experience the bliss that is informing the wisdom. And that's where the Manomaya body comes through, the emotional body. Think of it, the emotional mental body. That's where thoughts, beliefs, ideas, emotions, feelings, it all gets generated in there. But it's not just happening randomly. It's being informed by this. Now, of course, this third level body we're talking about, the Manomaya, is the one that gives almost everybody on this planet the most trouble. This is the level we're here to work with. But we're not in a vacuum. We have the capacity to receive from the wisdom body and the bliss body. So then it moves through there, and then it goes to the pranic body, the energy body, the yellow one, the pranamaya. And that is, I'm going to come back to this in a minute, because this is the level where the breath occurs, but it's the breath not mechanically. It's that there's a whole layer of yoga called pranayama, which is learning to work with the life force, breath control, because breath in life is one and the same. So that's where the emotional, the mental body spins off this pranic body. And then from there, the pranic body spins off the physical body. Now, we know that breath is really powerful for alignment. It works incredibly well. If your mind is spinning too much and you do the proper breathing practices, it'll calm the mind down. If it's not enough and you do the proper breathing practice, it'll spin its way up. And if it will work down into the body also, the physical body. Why? Because it lives between the physical body and the mental body, emotional body. So, and the breath is one of the few parts of the autonomic nervous system that is, or an autonomic function of the physical body that we have conscious control over as well. So it's a very powerful space to work in. So starting to work with the breath, you can see how it affects the body. Now, communication goes not just up and down this chain. So we're capable of, but let's start with that. The flow of intelligence, capital I, which includes infinite love, comes into the bliss body, into the wisdom body, it moves into the mental emotional body. But the mental emotional body and the pranic body and the physical body are capable of creating enough disturbance to deny the higher frequencies. That's called the ego. And when it does that, it cuts itself off from the more subtle, from the receiving of the guidance. Our conscious awareness, we get to actually choose when we're conscious where to plug into, where we say yes to receiving information from, and where we say no to. But if you don't know that, it is cut off, and then this is the place where people get all jammed up into the mental emotional body in fear, trying to solve everything, which affects the breathing. That's why you go to look at people's breathing and they're holding their breath half the time, or they're breathing in the upper chest all half the time, or they're breathing through their mouth all the time. Those are ways of trying to stop these painful feelings that are being created by a mind that's disconnected from source. And then ultimately, of course, the disturbance, there's virtually no disturbance in the bliss body. There's no disturbance in the wisdom body. And these are bodies, just like you develop your physical body, we develop these various bodies. You meditate, you're developing the wisdom body and the mental emotional body. You do devotional gratitude, you're developing the bliss body. You're putting your emphasis and your focus and your energy, our source energy, directed into these bodies. Same thing on the physical level. When you bless your food, you pay attention to how you're taking care of the physical body. Same thing with the breathing. You watch the breathe. So conscious awareness makes all the difference here. When we say yes and we open up, it's like the source is flowing through every one of these layers of body. If let's say, again, I'm going to the most common situation, the mental emotional disturbances and the constantly pulling people outside of themselves into the outside world creates these dis-eases. Our natural state is one of ease. But when it gets all jammed up here, the mental emotional body becomes dis-easeful, which affects the breath, which goes into the cellular structure. We know, if you doubt any of this, go read a book called The Biology of Belief. And you see the exact impact of mind-body. So this is all going on. So what goes on in disease in the body, yeah, it's made up of certain karmic forces, certain environmental factors, but the big deal thing is the level of alignment of these bodies. And there are ways of working with each of the bodies to align and strengthen in. If you're feeling out of alignment, chances are you can identify which one of these you're feeling it in. And then you can take appropriate steps to optimize your realignment in that way. The best way I've found is you just keep focusing on source. If you're out of alignment, your question goes to source. Okay, show me where I need to tune up. Show me where I need, show me. Powerful. It's very powerful. Because first it basically says, all right, I don't know. And living in an I don't know state in the present moment is the freest and most joyous and the most energetic and the way of being that will always produce the best results for us. So even if you feel like, oh, like my mind is out of control, fine, focus on source. And if you don't know how, ask. Show me how to focus on you here. You could always ask. Go to mantra, whatever tool you want to use, but you get there. You'll get there. The guidance comes from inside. The different bodies communicate with all the different bodies. There's cross communication messages. It's not just one stacked inside the other like this. But this is the causal flow of energy, from source to bliss, to wisdom, to emotion, to energy, to physical. And then it doesn't stop here. It continues to flow out as a projection. That's what this is. It's consciousness, it's source projecting itself through these layers of bodies out into the physical plane. And when we're in alignment, then we are acting in concert with the pure, most joyous, most efficient way of us being in the world. And we let Source take us through that. And then the things that we create, the places we get moved into, the people we meet, the experiences that we see out there, which is always and only a natural reflection of the totality of the energy of these 5 bodies. Therefore, as they come into alignment, what creates itself through you into the world, including where you go, when you go, you're being used by Source here, is completely under control of the highest intelligence. And what we end up creating through us and reflected back at us is the best. And this is essential with what's going on in the world today and what happened not just today in Washington, D.C. This has been going on forever, and it will continue forever. And when somebody's in alignment like this, that person can walk through a minefield or a mind field unscathed. Ram Dass said, a peaceful man sees a peaceful world. The Source is here, us, peace. There's never been a greater time than who we are naturally and what we are is needed in this world right now. And we have no business saying no to any part of what we are. And it's really funny. We think we're the physical body, right? That's one of the biggest cases of mistaken identity I know I've been working through. But if we're actually physical, that's encasing an energy body, that's encasing an emotional body, that's encasing a wisdom body, that's encasing a bliss body, who are you? Which of these? Our truest identity is actually none of these bodies. Our truest identity is that which created these bodies and lives through these bodies. And if that's true, then I'm not the physical body. What is there to be afraid of physical death? And if that's true, then I'm not the pranic body. Same question. And if that's true, then I'm not the mental body. Same question. I'm not even the wisdom body. And trust me, and that's a place I feel like I hang out in a lot. And it's tremendous fun. And I'm not even that. Holy smokes. And then the bliss body, which I kind of float in and out of at times, especially if I'm drumming or if I'm playing music. That's my doorway. What's yours? What's your doorway into the bliss body? What's your doorway into the wisdom body? And we're none of this. We're that which creates this. This is alignment. Being present, recognizing our true nature, allowing ourselves to be what we are, because everything is calling on us to be what we are right now. Everything. Every force that's going on. It's been actually happening forever. That's called the wake-up call, the tractor beam. But it's feeling stronger than ever. It came on strong. I had an absolute notable strength of it in 2016 after the last such election. And I'm feeling it coming on, and it's been building ever since. Not just me. And every one of my clients and every one of my friends I'm talking to, you may have noticed that. That's real. And it feels like it's kicking into a higher gear right now. So say yes, because saying no is going to be increasingly out of alignment. And we say yes, and Source takes care of us. Trust that we have done the work. because I know the thoughts. I got so much to do. I got to fix these 82 things. Yeah, that's a smoke screen, actually. It's a distraction. It's a distraction coming out of a dysfunctional mental, emotional body that's been too hooked into the out there. The more you focus in these deeper levels, the stronger they become. That's how we anchor in, how we anchor in, how we anchor in. This is the place. Then you can go out there, and if you get interact, if your job requires you to interact with social media or the news or the whatever, that's okay, because you are acting knowing you are pouring forth the light into that interaction. The outward flow from the depth of what we are is infinitely more powerful than the reverse, what we would take in from the environment. Environment's powerful. Don't underestimate that. Yogananda said, pay attention to your environment. Make conscious creation of your environment, because it is really powerful. It's frog in the boiling water, slow moving, and you don't realize it consumes you. However, the inner space that we're talking about, that we're anchoring into, is our true environment. And the more strongly we're anchoring into this magnetic field, this powerful field, is projecting outwards through us into the world. That is a real, measurable electromagnetic field that decides and determines who you come in contact with, what experiences and events you come in contact with. This is the source of our safety. This level of power that we're capable of running through our nervous systems. We've been doing the work for this. All of us. So we say yes, and it accelerates our evolution. That's why we're here right now, to be used and to allow ourselves. It's a gift. People are freaking out all over the place. Don't buy into that. If you notice that here's what I do. I see, I'm starting to feel disturbed. What part of me is focused outside too much? And you'll find it disconnected. The other go-to that I love is a prayer. It's like, God, I place the future in your hands. I drop it back into presence. So I'm going to leave that now. I will be sending this out along with not just notes, like I usually do now from these sessions, and the recording of this, I'll put it up on YouTube, but also I had in my research around the 5 bodies, some particular strategies for aligning each one. I'll send that out in the follow-up email tonight. So with that said, I'll open the floor and shut my mouth. Temporarily.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I mean,
I'd like to get a picture of that. Is that going to come in?
yeah,
The picture
I'll send it an email.
like that? Yeah, I was going to take one. I thought, no, maybe I want to take a picture of the screen now. I'll just ask for it. But
I did.
I did too.
I mean, let what I just shared sink in, and how does it speak to you or not?
Mm-hmm.
I can say that touching upon the awareness of when something is disturbing you, when you're out of alignment, and nipping that in the bud. And I think that example you gave, the first example, is excellent, of where am I out of alignment? What do I need to do here? And let source give you that answer. And I would imagine, would build up over time, that awareness. So you become more aware more quickly when you're out of alignment. So things don't spiral to a point when you're really disturbed.
Exactly. That's exactly what happens.
Right?
A jet spends 98% of its time in course correction because it's constantly getting real-time feedback from its environment. In other words, a jet is very much here now, and it's adjusting. And so no adjustment needs to be drastic.
And that awareness, you're just like building up a muscle.
Yes.
Right? Or building up any other awareness. Like I apologize, I don't know everyone's name, but the woman who is very aware of her body, like that very connected to her body here on this call. Just if something was off, she would be more aware than maybe perhaps someone like me who's not as connected to the body. So this awareness, I think, is about where you are, where's what's happening, what to do to correct, as you said, course correct in your time. As you become more proficient with that, you can find yourself in a better, more calm state, a more present state most of the time, even when everyone else is running around with their hair on fire. Another thing you mentioned is, things going on in the world. Like I said, that's a big part of my job. And sometimes people say to me, well, why aren't you angry about this or frustrated? How can you be so neutral? That's what I hear from people often. And I say, at least for me, I said, I have no idea what's best. I have absolutely no idea. Only my ego thinks it knows what's best. My responsibility is to navigate this for myself and my clients, but not attached to any of it. Now, please, when I say that, don't think that I got it all figured out, because I got my own things that I'm working on, but that specific area is not one of them. And that's it helps me when I think, as you mentioned before, that awareness, that present moment, and not being too far in the future, not being too far in the past, and just being present. That's one of my big parts of my path right now. And man, I don't know about the rest of you, it is really hard. Really, really hard.
It's a process, it's like we have to keep reminding ourselves to get out of our head, get out of our worries and our fears, and just come back to, our center and to our heart, and to be present and paying attention to what's going on. And even paying attention to when we hear those little voices that are saying things that are negative, to go, oh, there's that again. There's that voice. Okay, just drop it. And Eric, we've talked about this. You just kind of drop the thought that might be throwing you off balance and throwing you out of your alignment, and just go back to your breath, go back to breathe and get more centered into being here now. And it's just that simple thing, like that breath, for me, is a great tool. It just helps me, okay, my mind's going, wackadoo again. Let it go, drop it. It's not my truth. Breathe, be here now. Feel the peace, feel that, just center myself. And I think everyone has a different way of doing it, but that's, if you can find a tool that really makes sense for you, or that's what it's, I think that's what it's really about, is finding that tool or that mantra or that breath or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm. And now from those diagrams, actually, like, you can get a sense of just how powerful working with your breath is. It's an entire body. There are yogic practices that are so powerful, breathing practices, that it could cause somebody to die if they're not ready to use it, because it could generate so much energy into the nervous system. So this is powerful work. You can find the right breathing practices to immediately take you out of whatever you're caught in.
Good stuff. Wish we could do this every morning. Just have a cup of coffee and remember, be mindful all day.
Well,
present moment.
Your wish is granted, Kimberly.
Thank you.
We actually grant it of ourselves.
Yes. Yes.
The mind will always look at these particular things and say, it's too simple, it can't be. And that's
I think some good days at it.
Simple has a higher intelligence than complexity.
Mm-hmm.
It really does. Because the most universal and the simplest, and by that definition of anything, is source. It's just itself. And look how powerful it is. Yeah. Anyone else? Hmm. We're going to do another meditation, close out the evening. This meditation is not just a meditation, it's a transmission. It's not from me to anybody, it's from source coming through all of us to all of us. Whenever two or more come together in my name, there's a lot of horsepower here tonight, so to speak. Okay. We close our eyes and see where we go. So feel into whatever body is presenting itself to you here. Wherever it is, notice it in your physical body. The physical body is probably the number one place to go to if you feel out of alignment. You just come back into the body, you let go of everything else, you go, what's present here right now? And feel. Because this moment here in this body right now is receiving and transmitting communication through all the various bodies. And behind it all is source. And this awareness that we are, when we're awake and we're conscious, as we are now, gets to choose where to place this awareness. And no matter which part of the body is feeling okay or feeling not okay, in alignment, out of alignment, right now we put the focus onto source. However that appears for us, however we connect with it, we each know. And then if a particular, you just stubbed your toe and it's got, ooh, feel it and back to source at the same time. Or you're wheezing because of an asthmatic thing, feel it, back to source. Of course, grab the inhaler if you need. All bodies, all of our bodies deserve to be in alignment. And if the mind is spinning too much and you notice it from conscious, right? Step one, aware. I am. And then you can let it go and connect to source. Which is really connecting us with us, me with me, I with I. So as we go in deeper, just notice what you notice and keep bringing your awareness here now into source. Now imagine there are 3 crystals, quartz crystals, planted around the White House in a triangle pattern. Because there are, because I did that in 1990, not knowing why. And then all of this, now I know why. Imagine that. We're all connected. I know where they are. So as we hold that vision of just beaming light into the White House, it's amplified and accelerated. So just keep doing it. Whenever something weird shit's going on out there, instead of getting all outraged or fearful, it's like beam into the White House. Imagine they're also around the rest of Washington, or the rest of the country, or the world. Because there are, because we planted them. So know that we do this not just for our own self. That's the least of it all. This is a service. This is being in service to the whole of life.